So this would be the lecture on Madhvacharya's Dvaita Vedanta. Madhvacharya, who is also popularly known as Ananda Tirtha or Purna Pragya, he is the founder of Dvaitvada, the dualism school of Vedanta. So Dvait Vedanta basically is in opposition to Shankara's Advait and Ramanuja's Vishishta Advait. Shankaracharya talks about Abhed Bhed. There is no difference, non-dualism. Ramanujacharya talks about qualified non-difference, qualified non-dualism. Vishishta Advait. As per Madhvacharya, these two thinkers have misinterpreted, distorted the original teachings of Vedanta. As per Madhvacharya, Vedanta always stood for differences, because without differences there can be no liberation, there can be no aspirant, and there can be no goal. If there is only non-dual, then who is aspiring for liberation? Whose liberation? Why some people are ignorant, why some are wise? How would you account for diversity in the world? How would you account for diversity of Jad Jeev, matter and consciousness? Also differences within the matter, within the consciousness of different Jeev. How would one account for all these differences in the case of Advait and Vishishtadvait? So Mr. Madhvacharya, Acharya Madhav, comes up with a dualistic doctrine which according to him is the correct interpretation of Vedanta, which according to him is the proper philosophy for liberation and understanding of the world. If you do not have understanding of these differences, you will never be liberated. This is what Madhvacharya believes. So in opposition to Shankara's Advait Vedanta, which posits the non-duality of reality, Madhvacharya's teachings are called as Dvait Vedanta, which emphasizes the eternal differences between Jeev and Ishwar and Prakriti, that is matter, material world. So Jeev, Ishwar and Prakriti are different. His philosophical position is radical form of dualism, which rejects the monism of Shankaracharya. There are eternal differences between Prakriti, Jeev and Ishwar. So he starts with critique and then presents his eternal differences that he calls the 5 kinds of differences, Panch Vidbhed. He criticizes the Vishishta Advait and Apratik Siddhi Sambandh of Ramanujacharya. So after this, and finally we will see a comparative study between Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya. Okay. So in the notes you will see that he has written a number of texts which are extremely important, Madhvacharya's, especially his Sarva Dharma Sangraha, Sarva Darshan Sangraha. It is like a gist of all the philosophies that existed in India, including from Charvak, Buddhism and various other schools. He has made commentaries on Brahma Sutra. Brahma Sutra is the you can say root text which encapsulates the philosophy of all the Upanishads. So Upanishads are many, even there are apparent contradictions between these Upanishads, But this Brahma Sutra, which was which was the work of, so Brahma Sutra was the work of Badrayan Rishi. He is also called as Vedvyas, and this Brahma Sutra is the gist of all the Upanishads. So on this Brahma Sutra, Shankaracharya has done his commentary in the sense of interpretation of Brahma Sutra and clear exposition. Everyone has tried to give on their side. Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, and also Madhva. Shankaracharya's Bhashya is called as Sharirik Bhashya. Ramanujacharya's Bhashya is called as Shri Bhashya. Bhashya is commentary that they have made on Brahma Sutra. You will see that they are all called as Acharyas, because in ancient India, Acharyas were one who has done commentary on 3 important texts. They are called as Prasthan Trayi. Prasthan Trayi. First is Brahma Sutra, Bhagavad Gita, and also on Upanishads. So those who had made this commentary were given the title of Acharya. So we name Shankar as Acharya, Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, and Madhvacharya. But Shankar has held to be the most greatest commentator, because his commentary is more philosophically and logically sound. So he is also called as Adi Shankar. And he is also associated and given some mythological significance. But anyways, Shankar is also called as Acharya, Ramanuja is called Acharya, and Madhva is called Acharya because they have done commentary on Prasthantrayi. But for us, the most important one is the commentary on Brahma Sutra, which forms the backbone of Vedanta Darshan. And for that, Shankar has done Sharirik Bhashya, Ramacharya Shri Bhashya, and Madhvacharya Anubhashya. Okay. So this you have understood. Now let us go to his critique of Advait, because that is very important for us, how he criticizes the Advait Darshan and why he criticizes this. Critique of Dvaitvada. So Madhvacharya is a staunch critique of Shankar's Advait Vedanta. He labeled Shankar as Prachanna Bodh. We had discussed this during when we were discussing Shunyavad, that Shankar's philosophy is very close to the Shunyavad of Buddhism, and this was condemned by Madhvacharya, who said that Shankar's Advaitvad is a kind of disguised Buddhism. Disguised Buddhism, and in the name of Vedanta, what Shankar is preaching is Buddhism, is a disguised form of Buddhism. So Shankar is a hidden Buddhist. Shankar is a hidden Buddhist. Prachanna Bodh. Madhvacharya argues that Advait's non-dualistic view leads to a kind of nihilism. Nihilism, just like Shunyavad, because he considers Shunyavad as to be nihilistic philosophy, which denies the reality of the world and of the individuals who reside in this world. Shankar's position, as per Madhvacharya, is that the world and souls are ultimately the product of Maya, Vivarta. They are the Vivarta. They are product of Maya. Maya operates on two levels, Avaran and Vichep. So the Jaiv and Jagat are ultimately illusory, and only Brahman is real, because Brahman is Trikal Abadit, real for all the time, past, present, and future. But this position has been vehemently opposed by Madhvacharya. He accused Advaitvada of undermining the true nature of existence and promoting a kind of illusionism. So he says this Mayavad is a promotion of illusionism. Promotion of illusionism. Madhvacharya believes that Shankara's Advait dismisses the reality of difference, because it dismisses the reality of differences. And these differences are essential to understanding the reality. This what we had discussed during the Nyaya philosophy also, Nyaya Vaisheshik. Nyaya Vaisheshik said that the correct knowledge of reality is essential in order to gain a liberation. So Madhvacharya also says the same thing, that unless you have the understanding of these differences, of these nuances and subtleties, you will never be able to gain liberation. You will only be stuck in preaching such illusionary philosophical positions, which will definitely not lead you to the liberation that is actually the aim of Vedanta. So by dismissing the differences, Shankara's Advaitvad actually misses the essence of Vedanta. This is the position of Madhvacharya. Madhva's philosophy is actually an affirmation of these eternal differences. Madhvacharya says that these differences are not accidental. As per Shankar, these differences are Tatastha Lakshan. These are not Sarup Lakshan. But for Madhvacharya, these differences are Swarup. These are eternal. These differences are eternal in nature and not accidental. These are eternal differences, and so the position of identity between Jeev and Brahma, Jeevo Brahmeva Napara, is absolutely not tenable. It is not a correct position to hold. So this is how he criticizes the view of Advait, right? And also he says that Shankaracharya says that Shankaracharya's philosophy is basically concerned with Brahmagyan. If you see, that entire philosophy of Shankaracharya is concerned with Brahmagyan, knowledge of Brahman. But even for the knowledge of Brahman, we have to accept the duality between knower and known. The duality between knower and known. You are saying that you want to attain Brahmagyan. So to attain something, there has to be some difference on who is going to attain it and what is going to be attained. So there has to be difference or duality of knower and known. So the very knowledge of Brahman, as per Madhvacharya, implies that there is a difference between knower and known. So this is how Madhva says that Shankara's philosophy is not logically consistent. It is a kind of self-condemned nihilism, a disguised form of Buddhism, and a way of practicing illusionism in the name of Vedanta. This is how you will say. Now, after rejecting, so now this was the Purva Paksh. This is the Khandan part. Khandan part is rejection part. So first he has rejected the earlier views. Now Madhvacharya will present his own view. After Khandan, there will be Mandan. Own view, which is the radical dualism. His philosophy is a kind of radical dualism. The central doctrine of Dvaitvada is the eternal distinctions. The central doctrine is there's distinctions or differences are eternal in nature. They have existed and they are continue to exist. They are Anadi and Anant. Beginningless and endless. Anadi means beginningless and Anant means endless. So they continue to be, they will continue to be. It is not the case that on the attainment of Brahmagyan you will become Brahman. No. Even after liberation you cannot become God. In Shankaracharya's philosophy you are actually God only, but it is just due to avidya which binds you to the cosmic nescience, Maya, and its projection, that you are not realizing that you are Aham Brahmasmi. You are, thou art thou. But at the dawn of correct knowledge, Brahmagyan, you will have the achievement of the achieved. You will realize that you were always Brahman, and the distinctions will fall flat. All distinctions will automatically fade away because there were no distinctions in the first place. But for Madhvacharya, these differences will continue to be even after the liberation. So these differences are eternal in nature. They have continued to exist, they will continue to exist. So Madhva has emphasized on 5 kind of differences, 5 kinds of eternal differences, and the knowledge of these differences is extremely important if you want to attain liberation. So all of you want to attain liberation, so you need to understand these 5 kind of differences. Otherwise, problem will occur. You will not be able to liberate yourself, and you will only be stuck in the disguised form of Buddhism and illusionism as professed by Shankaracharya. This is what is the belief system of Madhva, although we are not saying it. So 5 kind of internal differences, you need to understand these for to have correct knowledge of realities, and through correct knowledge of realities you will go to you will have a correct path of liberation where you will be liberated. Although understanding itself will not be getting you liberation, because Madhvacharya believes in bhakti also. But before bhakti, all these things are also important, that you know the differences. So the first kind of difference is the difference of Ishwar and Jeev. God and souls, individual souls. So you remember that Shankaracharya says Jivo Brahme Para, means there is no difference in God and soul, Jivo Brahme Para. But Madhvacharya starts with this basic difference only, that Shankar, you are confused, you are a confused person, you yourself is confused, and you are professing this confusion in the common people also. Seems like you have smoked some weed vagara, so you are high and you are saying some certain things. If there are no differences, then who is deity and who is a devotee? Who will be deity and devotee? Right? So this Shankaracharya says Jivo Brahme Vanapara. But Madhacharya says that this is a false position to hold. The difference of Ishwar and Jeev is eternal in nature. It has existed. It will continue to be, irrespective of whether you attain liberation or you continue to be bound. In any ways, you will not be God. Second kind of difference is the difference of Jeev and Jeev. That is the differences between individual souls. So not all souls are same. Madhvacharya maintains not only quantitative difference, but also qualitative difference in souls. Quantitative difference means there are many souls. Qualitative difference means even within the souls there are differences. Means some souls are liberated, some are bound, some are eternally bound. Matlab they are condemned, they are damned to be bound, they can never be liberated. So even there is a qualitative difference apart from the quantitative difference. In Shankaracharya there is no difference, non-dualism. In Ramanujacharya there is quantitative difference, but there is no qualitative difference. But in Madhvacharya there is both quantitative plus qualitative difference. Third kind of difference is the difference of Jeev and Jad. That is soul and matter. To matter he also names Prakriti. है ना? Jeev and Prakriti are also different. The substratum, your Jeev is the substratum of consciousness, the Jad is the substratum of extension. So Jeev is res cogitans and Jad is res extensia. Consciousness resides in Jeev, and on the basis of extension we infer the existence of matter. So these are two different things, fundamentally different. There is a fundamental difference in both of them. Then there is also a difference between Ishwar and Jad, God and Prakriti. So Madhvacharya maintains that Prakriti is different from God. It is not that Prakriti is residing in God or God has created Prakriti. No. God is different from Prakriti, Prakriti is different from God. So you will see that in the theory of creation, in Satkaryavad we discussed about Brahman Vivartavad. First of all, we discussed about Prakriti Parinamvad of Sankhya philosophy. Then Brahman Vivartavad of Shankaracharya, because according to him, the world is not a real creation, rather it is a apparent modifications. This apparent modification will fall flat as soon as there is a dawn of right knowledge, that is Brahmagyan. For Ramanujacharya, the theory of causation is Brahman Parinamavad. So, because the Prakriti resides within Brahman in Ramanujacharya's scheme of thought. But in Madhvacharya, Prakriti is eternally different from Brahman. So it is not the case that God has created or Brahman has created Prakriti. No. Prakriti was there, God was there, and Jeev was there. Okay? So his view is also Prakriti Parinamvad. Prakriti Parinamvad. So God is not polluted by the imperfections of Prakriti. And in the material world we find a lot of imperfections. But we cannot say that these imperfections were created by God. No. Imperfections are there because Prakriti itself is imperfect. So don't blame God for the imperfections of the world, says Madhvacharya. This point you can include in philosophy of religion. Because in philosophy of religion, the main question is, if God is the creator of the world, was he not aware of the fact that I am creating an imperfect world where the people are going to suffer? But Madhvacharya will say that, see, God has not created the world has been created by Prakriti. So don't blame God. There is a difference between Prakriti and God. And fifth kind of difference, he says that the difference between Jad and Jad, that even matter, one material object, is different from other material object. For example, a jar and a table, two different objects. There is a jar and a table. There can be jar on the table, but these two are different. So there is a Jad difference also. One material object is different from the other material object. These five differences are eternal in nature. They continue to be, they will continue to be. So one has to understand all these five differences. This is the radical dualism of Madhvacharya. Dualism because Jad and Jeev are different. Jad and Jeev are different in nature, and all these dualistic will amount to these five kind of eternal differences. अगर हम इसको और अच्छे से देखें, there will be five kind of eternal differences, and one has to understand these five kind of eternal differences in order to attain liberation. ठीक है? Madhva argued that these differences are not illusory or temporary. This is the most important thing, that these are not temporary. ऐसा नहीं है कि they will cease to exist. They will continue to exist whatever the situation is. They are not temporary, they are eternal. Pay attention to this word, eternal. They are eternally real. Means they are like also Trikalabadit. In past they were there, in present they are there, and in future also they will there. His view is directly opposite to Shankara's Advaita. It is like two poles, North Pole and South Pole. Shankaracharya is Advait and here is Dvait. Exactly different. Shankar hold that distinction ultimately falls, with Brahman being the only reality. Madhva also asserted that these differences even persist in the state of liberation, where different souls experience different degrees of bliss. Not all are experiencing similar bliss. ठीक है, तो तीन इटर्नल एंटिटीज है, जड़, जीव एंड प्रकृति, सॉरी, ईश्वर, जीव एंड प्रकृति. So let us see ki what is, so he says that there are three eternal realities. God, soul and prakriti, matter. God for him is Vishnu or Narayan as he call it. He is the independent and supreme. And this God is omnipotent, omniscient, and creator of the universe. He is the creator of the universe. Creator not in the sense that, not in the sense of Ramanacharya. He has, the matter does not exist within him. He does not, he is not matter. So if you see, Shankaracharya's model was like this, Ramanacharya model was like this, and your Madhvacharya's model is like this. So in Ramanacharya, the two differences existed within. In Shankaracharya, there is only one thing, Brahman only, non-dualism, qualified non-dualism. Here there is dualism, Jad Jeev difference. Chit, Achit. ठीक है, so they are not within God, and this is Sagun Brahman and not Nirgun. That's fine. Now because not many things will be asked on the concept of God. Concept of God is not so significant here. There are few things which you can write like this. In Jeev, we have already said that they are atomic in nature. Atomic in the sense that they cannot be further divided. They are like the simple substance with the property of consciousness, and they are eternal in nature. It is not that God will destroy them, but they are dependent on God. So Madhvacharya's scheme is very much like Descartes, that there is absolute substance and there is dependent substance. Dependent substance are matter and consciousness, and absolute substance is God. And then there is Prakriti, which is also real and eternal. It is under God's control, but has own existence. Has own existence. So in Madhvacharya's philosophy, God is not the material cause, but God is the efficient cause. Efficient cause, but not the material cause. Material cause is Prakriti. In Ramanujacharya philosophy, God was both material cause and efficient cause. In Shankara, there is no point of efficient and material because there is non-duality. In Madhvacharya, the God is your efficient cause but not the material cause, because material cause is Prakriti. God is Nimitta Karan but not the Upadan Karan. And in soul, he has also talked about the hierarchy and degree of liberation. Hierarchy in the sense that there is a qualitative difference. Not all souls are like this. I same. They all have different capacities of knowledge and experience of bliss. Even in liberation, this continues to be. And he also gives a doctrine of something called as Anand Taratmay. So all these things have been mentioned in your notes. You can go through it. Anand Taratmay means gradation of bliss. That even in bliss there is gradation. And this is a unique doctrine of Madhvacharya. He says that not all liberated souls have equal status. Not all liberated souls have equal status. Some enjoy more bliss, some enjoy less bliss, and some can never be liberated. They are eternally damned. Eternally damned matlab they can never be liberated. Ramanujacharya's view was universalist because he considered that liberation is a path open to all. Just you have to do bhakti and prapatti. Bhakti prapaddabhyam prasanna ishvara eva moksham dadati. But in Madhvacharya, this path is not open to all. There are certain souls which are eternally damned. To them, this path is not open. So this way we will understand the view. Now let us go to the rejection of apritak siddhi. Rejection of aprithak siddhi sambandh. Okay. So Madhvacharya rejects this aprithak siddhi of Ramanujacharya. He says that God creates world, but both God and world are not inseparable. Ramanujacharya says that according to Ramanujacharya, God is both efficient cause and material cause. For Madhva, God is efficient cause but not material cause. So there cannot be any aprithak sambandh of God and the world. Right? Efficient cause है but material cause नहीं है. So the relation cannot be inseparable. Inseparable or inner or organic. Ramanujacharya talked about shariri sambandh. Just like body and soul. That God is Antaryami which dwells in this world. Like the soul dwells in body. but this is rejected by Madhvacharya. For Ramanujacharya, God is the soul of the world. He controls all activity of the world, as just as soul controls all the activities of human being. Right? But Madhva says that this is not the case. Although God has created the world, we agree to it. We agree that God created the world, but creation is not in terms of material creation. It is only efficient cause of the world. If a potter creates pot, do we say that potter is inseparably related to pot? Do we say that potter and pot have inner and inseparable and organic relation? No, because potter is just the nimit karan or efficient cause. The same example he gives. To create something does not mean that he becomes inseparable. Man creates and gives birth to children, but children are not inseparably related to the parents. Similarly, potter creates pitcher or a pot, but pitchers are not inseparably related to the potter. So Madhvacharya says that Ramanuja is not right in maintaining that both God and world are inseparably related. These two are differences. They are different, and these differences are eternal in nature. So he rejects the apratik siddhi sambandh and rather talks about dvait, difference. He introduces the concept of vishesh, that is difference. Since there is difference of Ishwar and Jad and Jeev, so we cannot say that Jad and Jeev have inseparable relation with God. Right? These Jad and Jeev are dependent on God, but it is not the case that God has created them. They were there. God has control over them, but not in the terms of as a material cause, but only as a efficient cause. So this way he rejects apratik siddhi sambandh also. Now finally let's see some comparative things. तो कुछ कंपैरेटिव देखते हैं जिससे हमारा काम बन जाए. Let's see some comparative points between Madhvacharya, Shankaracharya and Ramanujacharya. Shankar, Ramanuja and Madhva. So this will also clarify your doubts. So if you see the scheme of things, what is the ultimate reality? Only one. Ultimate reality or Brahman. What is the status here? This is the status. Okay? Chit and Achit, Chit, Achit and Brahman. Second is, so it is called as, we can say that this is Abheda Ved. Abheda Ved, there is no Sajatiya Ved, Vijatiya Ved or Swagat Ved. The Brahman is Nirguna and Nirakar. So we can put it here. Let me put it here. Yes, this is the view of Shankara. In Ramacharya there is Vishisht Advait. So he accepts the Swagat Bhed. Brahman is Sagun. Brahman is Akar, means form, not formless. Attributes. There is Swagat Bhed, internal difference. In Madhvacharya there is Bhed only. Bhed. There is all kind of Bhed. Sajatiye, well, first of all Vijatiye, Sajatiye, and Swagat Bhed. All kind of differences exist. Vijatiye in terms of three realities, that is difference of God, soul and matter. Sajatiya means even in soul there is difference, even in matter there is difference. There is difference between matter, soul, God, soul, and within soul also there is difference. Some soul are in a better position, other are not. So he accepts all kind of bhed. Then relation between God and the world. Relation. So here there is no relation, the relation is non-dual. Jagat is ultimately mithya. Here the relation is apratak siddhi. Sharira, Shariri. Swagat Ved is there. Here the difference, the relation is of absolute and dependent. That Jeev and Jad are dependent on Ishwar. Soul and matter are dependent on Ishwar. In Jeev, what is the status of Jeev? Again here there is Jeevo Brahmev Napara. There is no differences of Jeev and Brahm. Here he accepts only quantitative difference, but qualitatively alike. Here both quantitative plus qualitative difference. Right? Creation theory, Vivartavad. Brahman Vivartavad, Brahman Parinamvad, and Brahman, your Prakriti Parinamvad. What is the difference with Sankhya? In Sankhya there was no efficient cause as God, but here there is efficient cause as God, but the world, the matter, the material world is only creation of Prakriti. Means the material cause is Prakriti and not God. Right? Liberation, if you can say, liberation, for he accepts Gyan Marg. It is achievement of the achieved. It is called as achievement of the achieved because this is not something to be achieved, it is what you already have, but you just not realize it due to avidya. Due to avidya you do not realize it. He says that liberation is possible through bhakti prapatti, and for Madhvacharya, bhakti plus grace. So bhakti itself will include prapatti for him, but grace is very important. For him, grace is very important. Without grace, there is no liberation. For Ramanujacharya, grace is necessary but not sufficient. Here it is both necessary and sufficient. So even let's say you do some partial bhakti only, but you got grace, so you will be liberated. Here there is equal importance of bhakti, prapatti and kripa. So kripa is necessary. Kripa means grace is necessary but not sufficient. So there is self-effort importance also. And the path of liberation, path open to all, here it is he talks about eternal damnation also. Eternal damnation means there are certain pishach kind of soul, or you can say demon kind of soul, which can never be liberated. So liberation is not open to all. Okay. So these are the primary differences between Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya and Madhvacharya, and this way you might have understood properly the philosophy of Madhvacharya. And although you can criticize Madhvacharya because what Madhva accepts from the phenomenal point of view, from the transcendental point of view, Shankaracharya accepted from the phenomenal point of view. But he said your phenomenal world will be sublated by a higher reality. So it is not the case that Shankaracharya rejected the differences altogether. He said differences are there but only at Vyavaharik level, not at the Paramarthic level. So what Madhvacharya asserts from Paramarthic level, Shankaracharya has already talked about from the Vyavaharik level, and he said that with more contemplation, Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasan, you will go to the Turiya Avastha and realize the transcendental nature which is non-dual in nature. So this way you can even criticize Madhvacharya because he has not fully understood and appreciated the view of Shankara. Shankara accepted differences but not from the ultimate point of view but only from the practical point of view. He accepted plurality but only in practicality, not in the transcendental sense. Okay, so this way we conclude the view of Madhvacharya. Now you will get the lecture on Shri Aurobindo, by which we will conclude Indian philosophy.